Picture this. You have just woken up.
Yeah.
The house is completely quiet.
The absolute best time of day.
It really is, right?
Uh-huh.
The sun is just starting to come up, and you walk into the kitchen to start your morning routine, and you are doing everything right.
Setting the stage for a good day.
Exactly. You've invested in those, beautiful fair trade, organic coffee beans. You've got the burr grinder, and you are grinding them fresh right there on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the filtered water. It's perfectly heated. You have the beautiful pour-over setup, or maybe you're firing up that really fancy espresso machine you treated yourself to last holiday season.
Yeah, the one that takes up half the counter.
Right. The aroma of roasted coffee just fills the room. It is a moment of pure, unadulterated peace.
Absolutely.
You pour that perfect, dark, antioxidant-rich brew into your favorite ceramic mug, and here's where it happens. You open the refrigerator, you grab a brightly colored plastic bottle, you flip the little plastic cap, and you pour in a splash of flavored creamer.
And just like that, the magic is gone.
Right. It is the ultimate anticlimax to this carefully curated ritual.
It really, really is. And the crazy thing is you probably don't even think about it.
No, not at all. It's just, the splash. You just watch it swirl around, transforming that dark, robust liquid into this comforting, creamy beige color.
Yeah.
But, and this is why we are here today, what if I told you that innocent little splash is completely unraveling all the biological good you just did?
It's terrifying when you actually look at it.
What if that split-second pour is actually the most damaging, highly inflammatory event in your entire morning routine?
I mean, it's a profoundly startling realization when you finally look at the actual biochemistry of what is happening in the body.
Yeah.
Because culturally, we have just fundamentally misunderstood what is actually inside that plastic bottle.
Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. Today we are exploring a premise that is going to fundamentally change how you look at your morning coffee.
And probably your entire pantry, to be honest.
Oh, without a doubt. The core argument we are analyzing today, and this relies heavily on some fascinating insights from Gary Brecka over on The Ultimate Human Show, is pretty blunt.
Very blunt.
The premise is that the average commercial coffee creamer is not dairy. It's not even food.
Right.
It is a metabolic wrecking ball.
That is the perfect term for it, a wrecking ball.
So we are diving into how something so completely normalized, something sitting in the refrigerator doors of millions of homes and office break rooms right now, is actually a highly engineered chemistry experiment, just masquerading as a morning staple.
The sheer scales the illusion is what's truly fascinating here, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Because we are looking at a $5 billion global industry.
5 billion with a B.
With a B.
Mm.
And that massive economic footprint is built almost entirely on disguising a highly processed synthetic mixture of emulsified sea oils, dehydrated liquid sugars, and lab-synthesized flavorings.
Just dressing it all up as a wholesome, everyday dairy product.
Exactly. So today we are examining this not just as a critique of one specific beverage, but really as a masterclass in the intersection of food science, marketing deception, and, well, cellular biology.
Because your body is a deeply complex, beautifully orchestrated system. It's a temple.
Mm-hmm.
And yet millions of us are treating it like an industrial test tube before we even check our morning emails.
Literally first thing in the morning.
Right. But before we get into the actual biological chaos this stuff causes, before we decode the ingredient labels that are meticulously designed to confuse us, we really have to take a step back.
We need the context.
You have to understand the origin story.
Yeah.
Because nobody wakes up, looks in the mirror, and decides, hey, I think I'll pour a shot of emulsified bleached seed oil into my artisanal coffee today.
No, definitely not.
How on earth did this become the standard?
Well, to understand the genesis of the modern creamer, we have to travel back to the mid-20th century, specifically the 1960s.
Okay, the 1960s.
Right. This was the dawn of what we now call the war on fat.
Right. The era when butter suddenly became the ultimate dietary villain. My grandparents used to talk about this shift, how overnight, everything natural was suddenly just terrifying.
It was a massive paradigm shift in public health. And it was largely driven by incredibly flawed epidemiological studies.
Like Ansel Keys. Right.
Exactly. The most famous of these was Ansel Keys' 7-country study, which essentially, it cherry-picked data to draw a straight line between saturated fat consumption and heart disease.
They just ignored the countries that didn't fit the narrative.
Pretty much.
Okay.
And the scientific consensus at the time quickly coalesced around this idea They pointed the finger squarely at natural animal fats.
So whole milk, heavy cream, butter, eggs.
Yes, these foundational human foods were suddenly viewed as dangerous, artery-clogging hazards.
So a massive public panic ensues. But people still want their coffee to taste rich and creamy, right? Because
Yeah.
we are biologically wired to crave that mouthfeel.
We love fat. Our brains are wired for it.
Exactly. But they are absolutely terrified of pouring actual cream into their cups.
And consumer markets abhor a vacuum.
Oh, always.
So massive food conglomerates, companies like Nestle, they saw an incredible opening here.
A gold mine.
They realized that if people were scared of dairy, they could just manufacture an alternative.
Right.
But they didn't go to farms to find a plant-based natural substitute. They went straight to the chemical laboratories.
Of course they did.
They launched the first non-dairy creamers. And to mimic the mouthfeel of dairy fat without using actual dairy fat, the primary structural ingredients they relied on were hydrogenated vegetable oils and corn syrup solids.
Okay, let's pause right there on hydrogenated vegetable oils because that is just a polite, really scientific-sounding euphemism for trans fats, isn't it?
That is exactly what they are, trans fats.
Wow.
To create these early creamers, food scientists took incredibly cheap, volatile, liquid vegetable oils like soybean or cottonseed oil.
Just the absolute cheapest stuff they could find.
Right. And they subjected them to an intense industrial process called partial hydrogenation.
And what does that actually mean? Like physically, what are they doing to the oil?
They essentially heat the oil to extreme temperatures, and then they bubble hydrogen gas through it in the presence of a metal catalyst, usually nickel.
Nickel. In food.
Yes, as a catalyst. This forces hydrogen atoms into the fatty acid chain, chemically altering the oil so that it becomes semi-solid at room temperature.
Which gives it that thick, creamy texture when it hits the hot liquid of the coffee.
Precisely. And then they masked the bitter industrial taste of that heavily processed oil by dumping in dehydrated corn syrup.
Which is the corn syrup solids.
Right. It provided the sweetness and the viscosity they needed.
And the marketing for this original wave of synthetic creamer was aggressively brilliant. I've seen the old ads.
Oh, they were so effective.
They sold it to the public as heart healthy because it wasn't dairy, it contained zero cholesterol.
And by the deeply flogged logic of the 1960s medical establishment, if it didn't have cholesterol, it was inherently good for your cardiovascular system.
Right. They also really leaned into the whole space age aesthetic.
The whole modern living idea.
Yeah. The idea that your food was constructed in a sterile modern laboratory was actually seen as a massive positive back then. It was futuristic.
Tang and non-dairy creamer.
Exactly. And it was incredibly cheap to produce compared to the logistics of raising cattle, pasteurizing milk, and, managing a cold chain supply.
The logistics of real food are expensive.
They are. And for the corporations, this stuff possessed the ultimate holy grail of processed food. An almost infinite shelf life.
You could leave a jar of this powder or a bottle of this liquid in a hot warehouse for months.
And it would never spoil. Because it wasn't food. Bacteria won't even eat it.
It was a triumph of industrial food engineering over natural biology.
But let me push back on the timeline here, because that was the 60s.
Right.
Let's fast forward a few decades into the 1990s and the early 2000s. The medical community finally catches up. They realize, oh, wait, our war on saturated fat was misguided. And these synthetic trans fats we replaced it with are actually causing catastrophic levels of arterial inflammation and heart disease.
Trans fats became public enemy number one.
So when the scientific consensus shifted and we realized trans fats were incredibly dangerous, did these massive conglomerates reformulate their products to actually be healthy?
They did not change the underlying philosophy of the product, no.
I'm shocked, truly.
They simply updated the chemistry just enough to avoid regulatory bans, and then they completely overhauled the marketing.
So they just put a new disguise on the same old trick.
When hydrogenated oils became a massive public relations nightmare and eventually faced FDA restrictions, the industry pivoted seamlessly.
What did they do?
They saw the rising tide of the wellness movement, and they leaned hard into the new trends. They went vegan, they went plant-based.
They hijacked the wellness vocabulary.
They absolutely did. They swapped out the heavily hydrogenated trans fats for liquid, industrially extracted seed oils.
Things like sunflower oil, safflower oil, canola oil.
Exactly. And they started using oat milks and almond milks as bases instead of just water and corn syrup.
But the core issue is still there.
Yes. The fundamental reality of the product remained identical. It was still a highly processed synthetic emulsion held together by industrial gums and flavored with laboratory chemicals.
Rather than a whole biologically recognizable food.
Right.
It's like taking a faulty, sparking lithium battery out of a device and repackaging it in a sleek, beautifully designed, matte finish casing.
That's exactly it.
It looks infinitely more modern and safe sitting on the shelf, but the moment you plug it into your system, it still causes a massive power surge that fries your motherboard.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it. The industry mastered the art of what we call clean branding.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
Well, if you walk down the creamer aisle today, you are bombarded with calming, earthy tones.
Soft greens, gentle blues, warm beiges.
Yes, they use minimalist, sans serif fonts that convey simplicity and purity. They plaster the front of the bottle with bold claims like gluten-free, dairy-free, and cholesterol-free.
Which is technically true, but completely manipulative.
Completely.
I mean, of course, an emulsion of sunflower oil and liquid sugar is cholesterol-free and gluten-free. That doesn't make it nourishing.
No, it doesn't.
A bottle of dish soap is also gluten-free and cholesterol-free, but I'm not pouring it into my espresso.
Exactly. The marketing is designed to bypass your prefrontal cortex, your critical thinking center.
We just see a rustic illustration of an almond,
We read the word plant-based.
and our brain instantly files the product under the category of responsible, healthy choice.
It's an automatic reflex at this point.
Which is why we need to stop looking at the pretty fonts on the front of the bottle and start interrogating the back.
The ingredient list doesn't lie.
Right. The disconnect between the wholesome agrarian marketing on the front and the harsh chemical reality of the ingredient list on the back is staggering.
It really is two different worlds.
So let's break down the most popular offenders sitting in refrigerators right now. We'll start with the undisputed heavyweight champion of the office break room,
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Coffee Mate French Vanilla.
The classic.
This is one of the top sellers in the entire country. People buy this stuff by the gallon.
If you pick up that bottle and turn it around, here is the actual architectural makeup of what you are pouring into your cup.
Let's hear it.
Corn syrup solids, hydrogenated vegetable oil, mono and diglycerides, sodium quinate, carrageenan, artificial flavors, and cellulose gum.
Okay, I just want to point out that I don't see the words coffee, mate, French, or vanilla anywhere in that actual list.
Not a single one.
That doesn't read like a recipe for a beverage. That reads like the inventory manifest for a plastics manufacturing plant.
It's industrial chemistry.
Let's break the mechanics of these ingredients down, because this is where the metabolic wrecking ball concept really takes shape. First up, you mentioned corn syrup solids.
Yes. Corn syrup solids are essentially dehydrated corn syrup. The water has been removed to concentrate the sugars.
Okay.
Now, to understand the physiological impact of this ingredient, we have to look closely at the glycemic index.
Right, the GI.
The glycemic index is a standardized scale from 0 to 100. It measures how rapidly and how dramatically a specific food causes your blood sugar levels to rise after you consume it.
Okay, so pure, straight blood glucose, the absolute baseline for the scale, that sits at a 100, right?
Exactly. That's the ceiling of the standard scale.
Okay, so if I were to eat a spoonful of pure glucose, it hits my bloodstream at a 100 on the scale. Where do corn syrup solids land?
The glycemic index of corn syrup solids is actually 130.
Wait, hang on, I need to make sure I'm hearing that correctly. 130.
Yes, 130.
But you just said the scale tops out at 100 for pure blood glucose. How does it break the mathematical scale?
It exceeds the baseline of pure glucose, yes. When corn syrup solids hit your digestive tract, the enzymatic cleavage is nearly instantaneous.
So it breaks down instantly.
It floods your portal vein and spikes your blood sugar significantly faster and harder than if you were to just eat straight table sugar or even pure glucose.
That is insane.
So when you consume a liquid infused with corn syrup solids on an empty stomach first thing in the morning,
Yeah.
it is not a gentle wake-up call for your metabolism.
Yeah.
It is an immediate, violent metabolic event.
That is deeply alarming. And that's just ingredient number one.
Just the first one on the list.
Then we have the mono and diglycerides, which are synthetic emulsifiers, and the trace hydrogenated oils we discussed earlier. But let's jump down to a really insidious one on that list. Carrageenan.
Carrageenan.
We see this in everything, from creamers to deli meats to almond milk. What is it doing in my coffee?
Carrageenan is a high molecular weight polysaccharide. It's an industrial thickener extracted from red edible seaweeds.
Okay, so seaweed.
Now, the food industry loves to point out that it comes from seaweed to make it sound perfectly natural.
Right, ocean-derived.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is used to create that rich, heavy mouthfeel that mimics real dairy fat.
So it thickens it up.
Yes. However, the biological response to carrageenan inside the human digestive tract is highly, highly problematic.
In what way?
Rigorous research, including findings highlighted from the National Institutes of Health, has repeatedly linked carrageenan exposure to severe inflammation of the mucosal lining of the gut.
So it's causing inflammation in the gut. Are we talking about like a mild stomach ache here or something more systemic?
Much more profound than localized indigestion. The research links it to chronic symptoms that perfectly mirror irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS.
Wow.
But the more critical mechanism here is that carrageenan has been shown to actively exacerbate intestinal permeability.
Intestinal permeability.
Yes, which is the clinical term for what is commonly known as leaky gut.
Okay, let's hover on leaky gut for a moment. We hear that term thrown around constantly in wellness podcasts and blogs, almost to the point where it sounds like a buzzword.
It does get overused, but it's a very real condition.
What is actually happening at the microscopic level when someone has a leaky gut?
Well, to understand leaky gut, you have to visualize the anatomy of your intestinal lining. It is an incredibly delicate barrier.
How delicate.
In most places, it is only a single cell thick.
One cell thick, that's nothing.
It's microscopic. And these individual epithelial cells are bound together by complex protein structures called tight junctions.
Tight junctions.
The job of these tight junctions is to act as a highly intelligent, highly selective filter.
Like a bouncer at a club.
Exactly. They open up just enough to allow fully digested microscopic nutrients to pass into your bloodstream.
Which is what we want.
Right.
But
But they remain tightly closed to block out larger, undigested food proteins, bacterial endotoxins, and pathogens.
they are the border patrol agents of the digestive tract.
Precisely. And what the data indicates is that substances like carrageenan trigger the release of a protein called zonulin.
And what does zonulin do?
Zonulin signals those tight junctions to break apart.
Oh, no.
The barrier is compromised, the filter physically breaks.
It's like having a house in a severe winter climate. You have thick walls, but around your doors and windows, you rely on weather stripping to keep the freezing wind out.
Yes, perfect.
Drinking Carrageen every morning is like meticulously peeling away a little bit of that weather stripping day after day.
Until there's nothing left.
Right. Eventually, there's a massive gap, and suddenly the freezing wind, the rain, the insects from the outside, they aren't being filtered anymore. They are just wandering right into your living room.
That is a perfect analogy. Because when those tight junctions fail, foreign particles that were meant to be contained within the digestive tract and eventually excreted literally leak directly into your systemic circulation.
Into the bloodstream.
Yes, and your bloodstream is a sterile environment.
So when stuff gets in there that shouldn't be.
When your immune system detects undigested food proteins or bacterial fragments floating in the blood, it correctly identifies them as foreign invaders.
It sounds the alarm.
It launches an aggressive systemic immune response.
Which creates body-wide inflammation.
Exactly. This chronic low-grade inflammatory cascade is the foundational trigger for sudden food intolerances, chronic fatigue, brain fog.
Just feeling terrible all the time.
Right. And in vulnerable individuals, it can trigger full-blown autoimmune diseases. Your immune system is kept in a state of perpetual, exhausted hypervigilance simply because the borders of your gut have been chemically breached.
Well, so your 50-cent cup of coffee feels a little thicker on your tongue for 3 seconds.
It's a steep price to pay.
That is an insane biological trade-off.
It really is.
And then at the very end of the Coffee Mate label, we hit artificial flavors, which seems incredibly straightforward on the surface, right? It just means fake flavor.
You would think so.
But there is a massive regulatory loophole here that most consumers are completely blind to.
Oh, this is one of the darkest regulatory black boxes in the modern food industry. The terms artificial flavors and even natural flavors.
I'll take that down for us because natural flavor sounds great.
Under current FDA guidelines, flavor manufacturers are permitted to protect their specific chemical formulations as proprietary trade secrets.
Meaning they don't have to tell the competition, or us, how they made it taste like French vanilla.
Exactly. So when you see the singular phrase artificial flavor on a label, you are not looking at one ingredient.
Wait, really? It's plural.
Very plural. That phrase can legally represent a highly complex chemical admixture of dozens, sometimes over 100, distinct synthetic compounds.
Over 100 chemicals hiding behind two words.
Yes, these are volatile chemicals synthesized in labs, sometimes derived from petroleum byproducts or wood pulp.
Wood pulp.
Yes. And they're designed specifically to trick your olfactory receptors. And the manufacturer is under absolutely no legal obligation to disclose those individual constituent chemicals to the consumer.
So you are flying completely blind. Okay, so that's the traditional legacy creamer. The stuff in the break room. The plastic tub of powder.
Usual suspects.
Now, I can hear a certain segment of our audience thinking, well, I don't drink that neon-colored junk. I shop at the upscale organic grocery store. I drink the clean, aesthetic, vegan oat creamer.
Ah, the halo effect in action.
So let's put the silk oat creamer under the microscope. Because the packaging is gorgeous, it screams clean.
It was very wholesome.
It's proudly vegan. It's marketed as a heart-healthy alternative to dairy. What is the actual reality inside that carton?
The biological reality inside that carton is what we would categorize as a metabolic triple threat.
A triple threat. Okay, let's take them one by one. Threat number one.
The very first threat comes from the foundational base itself, the oats.
But oats are healthy, right? Oatmeal is a health food.
Now, whole intact oats can be a perfectly reasonable food for many people. But to create an oat milk creamer, the oats undergo heavy enzymatic processing to break them down and extract the liquid. This process essentially pre-digests the complex carbohydrates. It converts them into an incredibly dense concentration of a simple sugar called maltose.
Maltose.
Yeah.
We just talked about the extreme glycemic index of corn syrup solids being 130. How does maltose compare to that?
It acts in a remarkably similar, highly aggressive manner. Maltose spikes your blood glucose incredibly fast, even faster than standard table sugar, which is sucrose.
Oh, wow.
So before they add a single drop of flavoring to that oat creamer, the base liquid itself is already initiating a massive rapid blood sugar spike. That is threat number one.
So the quote-unquote healthy base is already acting like liquid candy.
Basically, yes.
And I'm guessing threat number two is that they don't just stop there.
They absolutely do not.
Yeah.
Because the pure oat base isn't quite sweet enough to hit the consumer bliss point.
Right.
So they actively compound the problem by adding refined cane sugar on top of the maltose-heavy base.
So it's sugar stacked on top of sugar.
It's a dual-pronged assault on your pancreas.
And threat number three.
Threat number three is the texture. To make that sugary oat water feel rich and creamy, like real heavy cream, they pump it full of industrially extracted seed oils.
Usually sunflower oil or canola oil.
Specifically sunflower oil in this case. And then they bind that oil and water together using yet another potent emulsifier, gellan gum.
Gellan gum.
Yes.
So let me get this straight. You buy this product specifically because the marketing told you it was a healthier, cleaner choice. But in reality, you are getting profound blood sugar instability from the maltose and the cane sugar.
Yes.
You are driving oxidative stress into your cells from the heated sunflower oil.
Correct.
And you are actively disrupting your gut microbiome and degrading those tight junctions with the gellan gum.
It perfectly illustrates the immense danger of health halos in food marketing.
It's deceptive.
Extremely. Just because a product proudly declares itself vegan, plant-based, or dairy-free does not mean it is biologically compatible with human health.
It really doesn't.
In many cases, these modern alternatives are just as hyper-engineered, synthetic, and metabolically disruptive as the legacy trans fat products they replaced.
Okay, but surely the extreme minimalist brands are safe. Like, let's look at a brand like Khalifa Farms Almond Creamer, or even Nut Pods.
Nut Pods are huge right now.
Nut Pods has a massive cult following in the keto and paleo communities. These are the ones with the really sleek, sparse architectural bottles.
They look great on Instagram.
They say unsweetened. They say non-GMO. They look like they were designed by a high-end tech company in Silicon Valley.
The aesthetic is brilliant. It conveys absolute purity.
So they must be better.
But when you bypass the marketing and read the ingredient list, you find that it relies on the exact same industrial scaffolding as the others.
Really?
Yes. A product like Khalifa Farms Almond Creamer, for instance, still utilizes sunflower oil, gar gum, locust bean gum, and those highly mysterious natural flavors we discussed earlier.
So we are right back to seed oils and emulsifiers.
We can't escape them in these products.
I know we talked about Keragen breaking the tight junctions, but what are gums like gar gum and locust bean gum doing? Are they acting the same way?
To understand the damage of these specific gums, we have to look at recent, highly concerning gastroenterology research.
Let's hear it.
A major review published in Frontiers in Nutrition explicitly examined the biological impact of these widely used dietary emulsifiers.
And what they find.
What the researchers found was that these substances actively, mechanically thin the mucin layer of the gastrointestinal tract.
The mucin layer, the mucus.
Yes.
Why is it so catastrophic to thin that out? It sounds kind of gross anyway. Why do we need it?
Well, think of the mucin layer as the thick, protective armor coating the delicate epithelial cells of your intestinal wall.
Okay.
But it's not just a physical barrier, it's an active ecosystem. That mucus layer houses a massive portion of your microbiome.
The good bacteria.
Exactly. The trillions of beneficial bacteria that regulate everything from your digestion and your immune response to the production of neurotransmitters like serotonin.
Wait, serotonin is produced in the gut.
A huge amount of it, yes, over 90%.
Wow.
So when you consume emulsifiers like gar gum and locust bean gum daily, they act like biological detergents.
Biological detergents.
They wash over that delicate mucus lining and dissolve it,
Yeah.
stripping away that critical armor.
They literally wash the microbiome away. It's like taking a harsh chemical degreaser to a delicate, perfectly seasoned cast iron pan.
Oh, that's exactly what it's like.
You are stripping away the very protective layer that makes the system work.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. When that mucin layer is thinned, the beneficial bacteria die off, pathogenic bacteria begin to thrive, and you trigger massive systemic body-wide inflammation.
So even the absolute cleanest brands, even nut pods, which people put in their coffee during intermittent fasting because they think it's just harmless fat, they still rely on gellan gum, sunflower lecithin, and hidden natural flavors.
They do.
The takeaway here seems to be that there is almost no escaping this chemical scaffolding if you are buying a commercial shelf-stable liquid creamer.
That is the harsh, unavoidable reality of food chemistry.
Yeah.
The exact chemical properties that make a liquid creamer shelf-stable for months, capable of mixing seamlessly into scalding, hot, highly acidic coffee without curdling or separating.
And staying thick and luxurious on the palate.
Right. Those are the exact same chemical properties that make it entirely incompatible with human cellular biology.
All right, so we've looked at the history of how we got tricked. We've decoded the labels and stripped away the marketing. We know exactly what these ingredients are.
The illusion is broken.
Now, let's transition into the physiological event itself. Let's look at the 4-alarm fire that starts in your body the second that splash of creamer hits your digestive tract.
This is where it gets really serious.
We are going to look at 4 major biological systems, starting with the one that dictates how your entire day is going to go. System number 1, the metabolic system.
This is perhaps the most immediate, measurable, and profound impact of the creamer ritual.
Break this down for us. What does this all mean? Like, what does this massive influx of maltose or corn syrup solids or cane sugar actually mean for our daily energy?
It changes everything.
Because people drink coffee to feel energized. Why do I feel like I need a nap by 10:30 a.m.?
You feel that way because of the violent metabolic roller coaster you initiated at 7:00 a.m.
Okay, walk me through it.
Let's trace the biochemical cycle. Whether you are using the oat milk loaded with maltose, the plant-based creamer with added cane sugar, or the legacy brand with the 130 glycemic index corn syrup solids.
The outcome is the same.
The initial physiological event is identical.
Huh?
A massive, unnatural spike in blood glucose.
Yeah.
Your blood sugar rockets upward within minutes of consumption.
The sugar hits the bloodstream and alarm bells go off.
Exactly. Your body tightly regulates blood sugar because chronically high glucose is highly toxic to your blood vessels and organs.
So the body
Yes. In response to that massive sudden glucose spike, your pancreas panics. The beta cells in your pancreas flood your bloodstream with insulin.
And insulin is the hormone that stores the sugar, right?
It's the hormone responsible for unlocking your cells and shuttling that glucose out of the blood and into the muscles or fat tissues.
Okay, so insulin comes to the rescue.
But because the sugar spike was so violently fast, the insulin response is disproportionately large.
It overreacts.
It does. This massive dump of insulin does its job too well. It sweeps the glucose away too rapidly, which leads to a severe, precipitous crash in blood sugar.
It bottoms out.
This is clinically known as reactive hypoglycemia.
And there it is. That's the mid-morning slump. The sudden brain fog, the irritability, the physical lethargy, the feeling that you desperately, urgently need another cup of coffee or pastry.
Yes, you've crashed. And the insidious part is the craving cycle it initiates. Your body is suddenly experiencing low blood sugar because of the overreaction of insulin. So your brain sends out emergency signals demanding that you consume more quick-digesting carbohydrates.
To fix the low blood sugar.
Exactly. You are trapped in a biochemical addiction loop before you've even eaten a solid breakfast.
You're just chasing your tail all day.
All day long.
But feeling tired at 10 a.m. is just the short-term annoyance. What happens when you do this every single morning for a decade?
The long-term threat is catastrophic.
What happens?
When you subject your cells to these massive spikes of glucose and massive floods of insulin day after day, year after year,
Yeah.
your cells eventually try to protect themselves from the onslaught. They downregulate their insulin receptors.
They essentially put their hands over their ears.
Exactly. They become deaf to the insulin signal.
And what is that called?
That cellular deafness is the clinical definition of insulin resistance.
Oh.
The pancreas has to pump out more and more insulin just to get the same amount of glucose into the cells. And insulin resistance is the foundational precursor to almost every modern chronic disease.
Like what?
It drives metabolic syndrome. It promotes stubborn visceral fat storage around your liver and midsection. And ultimately, it is the direct pathway to type 2 diabetes.
That innocent, comforting splash of creamer is aggressively driving the pathology of chronic metabolic disease every single morning.
It is a slow poison.
That is staggering. To think that a morning comfort ritual is paving the road to diabetes.
It's hard to accept, but the biochemistry is clear.
Okay, let's look at system number 2, gut health. We already took a deep dive into the leaky gut mechanism and the mucin layer degradation, but I want to make sure you, the listener, truly understand the mechanical reality of these emulsifiers.
It's a very physical process.
When we swallow Carrageen or gellan gum,
Right.
what is physically happening in the stomach and intestines?
To really conceptualize this,
Yeah.
you have to understand the physical molecular action of an emulsifier. Emulsifiers are amphiphilic molecules,
Amphiphilic.
which meaning one end of the molecule loves water and the other end loves fat.
Okay.
In a food product, they act as a bridge. They bind the water and the processed seed oils together so they don't separate into distinct layers in the bottle.
So you don't have to shake it up.
Right. They are, in the most literal chemical sense, biological detergents.
Like the soap you use to get grease off a frying pan.
Exactly like that. Dish soap works by emulsifying the grease so it can be washed away with water.
Okay.
But here is the critical issue. When you swallow an emulsifier in your coffee, it doesn't suddenly stop functioning as a detergent just because it entered your body.
Oh, wow, wait. So it is literally acting like a degreasing soap inside the incredibly delicate environment of your digestive tract.
In a mechanical sense, yes. As that emulsifier travels through your gastrointestinal tract, it washes over that delicate, protective mucus lining, the armor we discussed, and begins to thin it out, to dissolve it, to break it down.
Going back to our weather stripping analogy, it's systematically dissolving the seals on the windows. And the consequences, as we discussed, are massive systemic inflammation, food intolerances, and autoimmune triggers.
A cascade of health issues.
All from a chemical whose only purpose is to make sure you don't have to shake the bottle too hard before you pour it.
It's convenience over health. Always.
That is so frustrating. Let's move to system number 3, hormonal disruption.
This is the big one.
This is one that I think is going to shock people. I think most people understand that sugar might make them gain weight, but hormones. Modifying your testosterone and thyroid function with coffee creamer.
It seems like a massive leap, I know, but the biochemical link is very direct, very well documented, and it centers entirely around the widespread use of industrialized seed oils.
This is sunflower oil, the canola oil, the safflower oil, the so-called plant-based fats.
Correct. These cheap seed oils are heavily concentrated sources of a specific type of fat called linoleic acid.
Linoleic acid.
Yes. Linoleic acid is an omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acid. Now, to be clear, the human body does require trace, essential amounts of omega-6 in the diet, to facilitate acute inflammatory responses, like healing a cut.
So we do need a tiny bit of it.
A very small amount. Historically, from an evolutionary standpoint, human beings consumed omega-6 fatty acids in a roughly 1-to-1 or maybe 2-to-1 ratio with omega-3 fatty acids.
Perfectly balanced.
Exactly. But today, because these industrially extracted seed oils are used as the cheap base for almost every processed food, including our coffee creamers,
The ratio has completely flipped.
the ratio has skyrocketed. The average person is now consuming omega-6s at a ratio of 20 to 1 or even 30 to 1 compared to omega-3s.
30 to 1.
We are flooding our bodies with unnatural, astronomical amounts of linoleic acid.
And what actually happens at the cellular level when we dump all this linoleic acid into our system every single morning?
Well, the defining chemical characteristic of linoleic acid and all polyunsaturated fats is that their carbon chains contain multiple double bonds.
Okay, Chemistry 101. What do the double bonds do?
These double bonds make the molecule highly unstable and incredibly reactive to heat, light, and oxygen.
Oh.
When you consume massive amounts of linoleic acid, these fats become incorporated into your cell membrane.
Or they build our cells.
Yes, and because they are so unstable, they oxidize very rapidly inside the warm, oxygen-rich environment of the human body.
They are essentially rusting inside of us.
That is a very accurate way to describe lipid peroxidation. When these fatty acids oxidize, they create a massive storm of free radicals and initiate a cascade of cellular damage.
So the cell membrane gets damaged.
The cell membranes become stiff and dysfunctional.
Yeah.
And crucially, this widespread oxidation actively scrambles and interferes with cellular signaling.
The communication networks between the cells break down.
Yeah.
It's like the hormones are trying to send a text message, but there's no cellular service.
Precisely. And your endocrine system, your hormonal system, is entirely reliant on clear, precise cellular signaling to function. If the cell membrane is stiff and oxidized from seed oils, the hormone receptors just can't receive the signal.
And what hormones are affected?
Well, the literature highlights that this systemic burden of oxidized linoleic acid actively blunts the output and efficacy of your thyroid hormone.
And the thyroid is the master regulator of the entire metabolism.
It is.
So by consuming this creamer, you are literally putting the brakes on your metabolic engine at the foundational hormonal level.
Yes. It depresses your basal metabolic rate.
Yeah.
You're burning fewer calories just sitting there.
That's wild.
And the hormonal disruption goes even further. There are extensive studies in endocrinology that show a direct, measurable correlation between high linoleic acid intake and a significant reduction in androgen production.
Specifically testosterone.
Specifically testosterone. When the body is overwhelmed by the systemic inflammation caused by lipid peroxidation, the brain signals the reproductive system to downregulate.
To basically shut down, to conserve energy, to fight the inflammation.
Exactly. There is a direct mechanistic link between the chronic consumption of these seed oils and the epidemic of low testosterone levels we are seeing in modern men.
We are artificially depressing our foundational hormones, our vitality, through these chronic, low-grade dietary exposures.
Every single morning with our coffee.
That is absolutely wild, which brings us to system number 4. And honestly, for me, this is where the conversation gets incredibly dark. Neurological issues.
The psychology of it all.
Because the companies making these products aren't just messing with our bodies. They are actively hacking our brains. This is the science of engineered addiction. Here's where it gets really interesting.
This is where we have to shift our perspective from pure biology to the highly funded, highly sophisticated psychology of food science.
They know exactly what they are doing.
Oh, absolutely. You have to understand that the massive conglomerates manufacturing these creamers are not just throwing some oils and sugars into a vat and hoping it tastes good.
They aren't guessing.
No. They employ armies of neurobiologists and flavor chemists. They are meticulously engineering these products to hit a very specific, mathematically calculated target known in the industry as the bliss point.
The bliss point. It sounds like a relaxing spa treatment, but it is actually deeply manipulative.
It is the ultimate tool of dietary manipulation. The bliss point is the precise, lab-engineered ratio between sweetness, fat mouthfeel, and salt that optimally triggers the reward centers of the human brain.
It's maximizing the release of dopamine.
Yes. The exact same neurotransmitter involved in gambling addictions, in endless social media scrolling, and in substance abuse.
It hijacks precisely the same neural pathway.
It really does. When you combine the rapid-fire glycemic spike of the synthetic sugars, the artificial coating mouthfeel of the emulsified seed oils, and the hyper-stimulating lab-formulated synthetic flavors, you create a sensory input that completely bypasses your body's natural satiety signals.
It breaks the feedback loop. Like if I sit down and eat a bowl of strawberries, eventually my brain says, okay, we have enough energy, you feel full, stop eating.
Exactly. Whole foods have natural limits, but the bliss point is designed to override that stop signal completely.
You just want more and more.
It lights up your brain's dopamine reward center just like highly processed junk food does. It makes you feel a temporary, intense rush of pleasure and comfort.
But it's an illusion.
It is, because there is absolutely zero bioavailable nutrition in the creamer. Just empty calories, oxidized fats, and chemicals. Your body remains fundamentally starved for actual nutrients.
So as the dopamine recedes and the blood sugar crashes, it leaves you desperately craving more.
It is a manufactured, biologically irresistible craving.
And over time, doing that every day.
Chronically spiking your dopamine in this unnatural way downregulates your dopamine receptors.
Meaning you need more dopamine just to feel normal.
Yes, which profoundly affects your baseline mood regulation, increases anxiety, and degrades your overall mental resilience.
Think about that for a second. Think about the last time you tried to just drink your coffee black after years of using French vanilla or caramel macchiato creamer.
The withdrawal is real.
Remember that physical irritation, that intense sense of deprivation and low mood. That wasn't just you missing a nice flavor profile.
Not at all.
That was your brain going through actual, measurable dopamine withdrawal.
It is an addiction, plain and simple.
And the way these companies deliver this bliss point is paired with what I consider to be one of the most frustrating, borderline fraudulent deceptions in the entire grocery store. The serving size trick.
Oh, the serving size manipulation is the absolute linchpin in how they maintain the illusion of health on the nutritional label.
If you look at the nutrition facts on the back of almost any of these liquid creamers, it will tell you the calorie count and the sugar content based on a serving size of exactly 1 tablespoon.
1 tablespoon.
One tiny, minuscule tablespoon.
Let me ask you, have you or anyone you know ever meticulously measured out exactly 1 flat tablespoon of liquid creamer into a morning coffee?
Never in my entire life. And nobody else does either. It's an absurd metric.
Completely disconnected from reality.
You take the bottle, you tip it upside down over your massive ceramic mug, and you do a visual pour. You do a count 1, 2, 3. You watch the color change.
Right until it's the right shade of beige.
Exactly. In reality, the average person is pouring 3, 4, maybe even 5 tablespoons into a large cup of coffee.
Which completely obliterates the math they present on the label.
It radically changes the reality of what you are consuming. You look at the label, it says 5 grams of sugar per serving. You think to yourself, okay, 5 grams, that's like a teaspoon of sugar. That's not terrible. I'm making a reasonable choice.
But you aren't having 1 serving.
No. In reality, with a standard 4 tablespoon pour, you just unknowingly dropped 20 grams of heavily refined, ultra-high glycemic sugar into your bloodstream.
Before you've even eaten anything.
You are consuming the sugar equivalent of a candy bar before you have even taken a single bite of breakfast.
It is an engineered addiction delivery system, heavily disguised through mathematical sleight of hand.
Which is absolutely infuriating for us as adults trying to navigate our health and our waistlines.
It's exhausting.
But I want to shift the focus here. Because if these synthetic dopamine-hacking chemical blends are wreaking this kind of devastating havoc on fully developed, mature adult metabolisms, what happens when we introduce this exact same chemical cocktail to children?
This is where the conversation necessarily shifts from a matter of personal dietary optimization to a full-blown public health crisis.
Because kids are drinking this stuff now.
We are currently witnessing a massive, culturally accepted trend of the next generation being conditioned to consume these hyper-palatable products earlier and earlier in their developmental window.
You see it everywhere. You walk into any chain coffee shop at 3:00 p.m. and it is flooded with kids.
Middle schoolers, even elementary school.
Yes, walking around with massive 20-ounce iced pumpkin spice concoctions or violently pink strawberry-flavored oat milk refreshers.
They look and taste like milkshakes.
But they are built entirely on these exact same synthetic creamer bases we've been talking about.
They are. They are consuming massive concentrated doses of emulsified seed oils, ultra-high glycemic corn syrup solids, and proprietary synthetic flavors.
Before their bodies have even hit puberty.
Before their endocrine systems, their hormonal feedback loops, and their brain's reward centers have fully formed and matured.
And the data on the consequences of this is absolutely chilling. When you look at the research, specifically statistics published in the Journal of Pediatric Obesity, it really stops you in your tracks.
It is one of the most profound and concerning data points in modern nutritional science.
What does the data show?
According to the data, children today are consuming 5 times more omega-6 linoleic acid in their daily diets than children were consuming just 30 years ago.
5 times more. a 500% increase in a highly unstable oxidative fat in just one single generation.
Yes. And you have to think deeply about the biological implications of that.
Based on everything we just discussed.
Exactly. The cellular oxidation, the tight junction degradation, the hormonal blunting. We are taking rapidly developing bodies and flooding them with unstable, rusting fatty acids.
And we aren't just giving them the isolated omega-6s.
No, we are combining that massive lipid burden with astronomical levels of liquid sugar and gut-destroying emulsifiers.
It is the absolute perfect storm for biological disaster.
It is the exact biochemical recipe for a silent generational epidemic.
Wow.
By normalizing these creamer-based drinks for children, we are actively driving childhood metabolic dysfunction.
We're setting them up to fail.
We are laying the physiological groundwork for early onset insulin resistance. We are feeding behavioral and attention issues heavily linked to dopamine dysregulation from the bliss point engineering.
Right, because their brains are constantly crashing.
And we are seeding foundational autoimmune and inflammatory disorders.
And the tragedy is that very few people are talking about the underlying chemical mechanisms driving this. Culturally, we just shrug and accept that kids like sweet coffee drinks now.
It's just seen as a fun treat.
It breaks your heart to think about what we are doing to their baseline health. But understanding the mechanism also makes you want to take immediate action.
Absolutely. Awareness is the first step.
Which brings us to the most important, empowering part of this deep dive, upgrading your cup.
Let's get to the solutions.
Because the message here is absolutely not stop drinking coffee.
No, coffee is great.
Coffee itself, when sourced well, is a wonderful, antioxidant-rich, neuroprotective beverage.
It has a lot of health benefits.
The message is simply, stop treating your beautiful biological temple like corporate science experiment. You don't have to give up the ritual, you just need to upgrade your ingredients.
You need to switch to real, biologically recognized fuel.
Exactly. We do not have to rely on industrial synthetics. There are profound, physiologically sound alternatives that actually nourish and support your cellular biology rather than degrading it.
There are so many better options out there.
Let's walk through the specific, actionable solutions that can immediately replace that plastic bottle in your fridge. Let's do it.
Let's start with a controversial one.
Solution number one is one that might surprise some people because it goes against decades of dogma, but it is making a massive, science-backed comeback. Real, raw milk.
Yes. Raw milk is a fundamentally different biological substance than the ultra-pasteurized, heavily homogenized, skimmed dairy you find sitting in the standard grocery store aisle.
How so?
Because it has not been subjected to extreme heat pasteurization, it retains its entire natural, living, enzymatic profile.
And the most fascinating part of that profile is lactase, right? Break that down for us.
Right. Raw milk naturally contains high concentrations of lactase.
And what does lactase do?
Lactase is the specific digestive enzyme required by the human body to properly break down lactose, which is the natural sugar found in milk.
Wait, so the milk comes with the enzyme needed to digest it?
Exactly. This is why thousands of people who firmly believe they are lactose intolerant can actually consume and digest raw milk perfectly fine. The unadulterated milk actually provides the exact biological enzyme needed to digest it.
But the pasteurized milk doesn't.
No. Industrial pasteurization completely denatures and destroys that enzyme, which is why commercial milk causes so much gastrointestinal distress.
That's incredible. It's like nature perfectly packaged the problem and the solution in the exact same container, and our brilliant industrial processing decided to just cook the solution away.
Precisely. And beyond the critical enzymes, raw milk is a living food. It is rich in natural, beneficial probiotics that actively populate and support the gut microbiome.
Healing the very ecosystem that commercial emulsifiers destroy.
Exactly. And importantly, it is loaded with highly bioavailable fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin A, vitamin D, and vitamin K2.
Why are those specific fat-soluble vitamins so crucial to consume first thing in the morning with your coffee?
Because these specific vitamins are the foundational building blocks for your immune function and for the synthesis and balance of your hormones.
So instead of drinking seed oils that blunt your thyroid and lower your testosterone,
you are actively providing your body with the exact raw materials it needs to build and optimize your endocrine system for the day.
That is a massive upgrade. Okay, solution number two is for the folks who either can't source raw milk or who truly want to stay completely dairy-free but want to do it safely.
This is a great plant-based option.
Organic Thai coconut creamer heavily paired with raw honey.
This is a highly accessible, really inexpensive, and metabolically safe alternative.
You can find canned, organic, full-fat coconut milk or coconut cream in the international aisle of almost any basic grocery store.
And the natural saturated fats in the coconut provide an incredibly thick, rich, luxurious mouthfeel.
Without the need for a single drop of carrageenan, gargum, or seed oil.
Exactly.
It's just real fat.
And the sweetening element here is the real game changer. We are swapping the corn syrup solids for raw honey.
But we have to be specific here.
Right. Not the little plastic bear filled with clear, highly pasteurized, heavily filtered honey that is basically just liquid fructose.
Yeah.
We're talking about raw, unpasteurized, opaque honey.
The biological distinction between those two products is vital because real raw honey is not just a sweetener. It is essentially a functional medicine.
It really is.
It contains active antibacterial compounds, complex enzymes, and powerful antioxidants. And crucially, it metabolizes entirely differently in the body.
It does not cause the violent, erratic insulin spike that cane sugar or maltose causes.
It provides a much smoother, more stable glycemic curve.
Right.
Okay, solution number 3 is perhaps the most decadent but perfectly biologically sound if you tolerate dairy.
I love this one.
Grass-fed heavy cream paired with 100% pure maple syrup.
Heavy cream. The exact dietary fat that the American Heart Association in the 1960s told us to run away from screaming.
And as the modern clinical data has overwhelmingly proven, the 1960s were fundamentally wrong.
Very wrong.
Grass-fed heavy cream is a phenomenal, nutrient-dense source of clean, natural saturated fat.
And when you consume high-quality saturated fat alongside the caffeine in your coffee, it performs a brilliant biological trick.
What's the trick?
It profoundly slows the gastric emptying and the absorption of the caffeine.
So it hits you slower.
Right. This prevents the sudden central nervous system jitters, and, more importantly, the heavy fat blunts the insulin response, stabilizing your blood sugar.
It converts the sudden rush of caffeine into slow-burning, sustained cognitive energy.
Yes, no crash.
And pairing it with pure maple syrup, again, we have to clarify, not the artificially flavored Aunt Jemima-style pancake syrup made of high fructose corn syrup and caramel color. We mean real, tapped from a tree, 100% pure maple syrup.
Yes, pure maple syrup is a truly remarkable natural sweetener. Research has identified over 24 distinct antioxidants in maple syrup.
24.
One of the most fascinating is a unique phenolic compound called quebec-hol, named after the province of Quebec.
Quebec-hol, what does that do?
Quebec-hol actually exhibits powerful, measurable anti-inflammatory properties in the body. Furthermore, real maple syrup is naturally loaded with essential trace minerals like zinc and manganese.
So when you sweeten with maple syrup, you are actually infusing your morning coffee with micronutrients rather than stripping your body with empty chemicals. It's a net positive for your body.
Solution number 4 is for the absolute purists, the simplest, most direct route possible. Black coffee with a heavy dash of real cinnamon.
It is elegantly simple, and metabolically, it is incredibly powerful.
Let's talk about how the cinnamon actually works, because when you sprinkle cinnamon on your coffee, it feels like a simple flavor hack to cut the bitterness.
It just tastes great.
But it's actually a profound biological hack.
It is pharmacology in your spice rack. Cinnamon, specifically Ceylon cinnamon, contains highly active bioactive compounds that directly and measurably improve cellular insulin sensitivity.
Wow.
When you consume cinnamon, it physically helps your cell receptors respond more efficiently to insulin, which directly reduces post-meal glucose spikes.
So by putting cinnamon in your coffee, you are actively deploying a compound that works to counteract the exact metabolic dysfunction and insulin resistance that artificial creamers cause.
Reversing the damage.
And finally, solution number 5, because we have to be realistic here.
People want convenience. Exactly. There are people listening who just want the convenience. They don't want to whisk honey or open cans of coconut milk at 6 a.m.
They want to open a bottle or a tub, scoop it in, and head out the door.
The good news is that the market is finally responding with pre-made functional creamers. The deep dive from our sources highlights a specific brand called Alkamine as an example of this new wave of nootropic creamers.
It is important to highlight brands like this, noting that they offer classic flavors like salted caramel or French vanilla to prove to the consumer that you absolutely do not have to give up the flavor profiles and the convenience you enjoy.
You can still have French vanilla.
Yes. The critical life-saving difference is entirely in the underlying formulation.
Right. They are achieving the flavor and the texture without relying on the toxic, inflammatory scaffolding.
Exactly. A true functional creamer completely omits the cheap seed oils. Instead, they use functional, metabolically active fats.
Like MCTs.
Most often, NCTs, which stands for medium chain triglycerides or high-quality coconut-derived fats. These fats don't oxidize like linoleic acid. They're sent directly to the liver and converted into ketones for immediate brain energy.
And what about the sugar?
They contain absolutely zero added sugars, maltose, or synthetic sweeteners. They utilize natural, non-glycemic options like monk fruit or stevia.
And most importantly, they actively incorporate nootropics and adaptogens. Let's quickly define those for the listener.
Sure.
Nootropics being natural compounds that actively support and enhance cognitive function and focus.
Yep.
And adaptogens being specific herbs or functional mushrooms like lion's mane or ashwagandha that literally help the body's nervous system adapt to and manage physiological stress.
Precisely. So instead of pouring in a creamer that actively degrades your neurological resilience and spikes your cortisol, you are utilizing a product meticulously designed to fuel your brain, protect your gut, and stabilize your hormones.
It is a complete paradigm shift in how we view our morning beverage.
It really is.
So the options are abundantly clear. You are not doomed to drink bitter black water if you don't want to. You can have a rich, sweet, creamy, luxurious morning coffee. But it requires making a conscious, informed choice.
You have to choose your health.
Which leads us to the ultimate test. This is a brilliant, devastatingly simple challenge from Gary Brecka to everyone listening right now. Tomorrow morning, when you walk into your kitchen, I want you to pick up your plastic bottle of creamer, flip it around, read the ingredient label out loud, and ask yourself one incredibly simple question.
Would I eat these ingredients off a spoon?
Would I eat it off a spoon? It is a devastatingly effective mental exercise because it shatters the illusion of the liquid.
It really makes you think about the isolated ingredients.
Think about it. Would you take a metal spoon, pour a mound of dipotassium phosphate, isolated carrageenan powder, maltose, and hydrogenated vegetable oil onto it, and just put it in your mouth?
Of course you wouldn't. Your brain would scream at you that it was poison.
So why on earth are you letting it dissolve into your daily fuel, hiding behind the dark color of the coffee? If you wouldn't eat it off a spoon, you have to stop drinking it.
Which brings us to a crucial overarching synthesis of everything we've decoded today.
The big picture.
The core message of this analysis is about cultivating a profound respect for your own biology. Your body is a deeply complex, relentlessly hardworking, beautifully orchestrated machine.
Yes, it is.
The minor fleeting convenience of a commercial synthetic liquid creamer is simply not worth the catastrophic metabolic, hormonal, and neurological costs it exacts upon that machine every single day.
It's just not worth trading your long-term vitality for a 3-second hit of engineered vanilla flavoring.
And stepping back, this entire deep dive raises a much larger, much more vital question, one that extends far beyond your morning coffee cup.
Let's hear it.
If a $5 billion industry can successfully convince millions of highly intelligent, health-conscious people to happily drink highly inflammatory, insulin-spiking industrial chemicals every single morning.
Simply by putting the comforting words plant-based or heart-healthy on a pretty pastel label.
Exactly. If they can do that, how much of the rest of our daily diet is driven entirely by clever marketing rather than physiological reality?
That is the million-dollar question, or rather the $5 billion question.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the thought I want to leave you, the listener, with today. Think back to that opening image we started with. You, standing in your quiet kitchen, grinding those beautiful organic beans, seeking that perfect, peaceful morning moment. We have just spent the last hour uncovering exactly how a simple, innocent-looking splash of liquid has been meticulously engineered over the last 60 years to hijack your dopamine receptors, bypass your biological defenses, and slowly, quietly degrade your cellular health.
It's hiding in plain sight.
If these food conglomerates can successfully hide a glycemic index of 130 behind a soothing, minimalist font and a picture of an almond, what else is hiding in your pantry right now? Take a walk into your kitchen today, open the cupboards, open the fridge, look at the products you buy every single week out of sheer unthinking habit.
The granola bars.
The healthy oat-based granola bars, the fat-free salad dressings, the brightly colored yogurts. Pick them up and look at the back. Ask yourself, what else in there is relying on a really nice aesthetic to hide a metabolic wrecking ball?
It's time for a pantry audit.
Because here's the beautiful truth. Once you learn how to read the label, once you truly understand the biochemical mechanism of what these ingredients are doing to you, once you see the corporate illusion for exactly what it is, you can never unsee it.
You take your power back.
You take your agency back, and that is where real, lasting health and true biological power begins.